a short practice that's all on the ground. So this is perfect for if you just want to get a little something done, but you don't want to get up off the ground. But especially for people who perhaps have an injury or have had surgery, and if you're not weight bearing, sometimes it's hard to know what you can do to mobilize, stretch, strengthen while you're sort of out of commission. So instead of being out of commission, we're going to do a little groundwork today. So the things that you will need will be a strap. This could also be a dog leash. It's helpful if you can have some sort of loop, so some sort of loop that can go around your foot. That will be helpful. And then a block is helpful. You don't actually have to have a block. You could also have like a ball. You could also have a pillow, just something that you can squeeze between your legs. It's also not absolutely essential. So if you don't have something, that's no problem. And I've got a blanket here. You could have a blanket. This one's like a nice thick blanket. A Mexican blanket also works. Or if you have, some thick towels that you can put together, a pillow will also work for what we're doing. You're just going to have to be able to sort of bunch it up. So I'll show you what we're doing here. We'll actually start with the roll. And the other thing that works for this is actually a mat, like a rolled up mat will work great for this. So I'm rolling this in sort of a skinny way. I'm going to show this to you twice in two different ways, because at first we're just going to start with like a nice narrow roll. And you'll put this down and lie back. And so when you lie back here, you want to get the roll in your upper back such that when you come over, your arms are on the same side as your head, and you could lie flat this way. You can bend your knees if lying flat is bothersome to you, but if you can lie flat, do so. Stretch your legs out and then let your arms relax here at first. Take a few deep breaths. Now, if you find that this feels really good, and you want to lay here for longer than I'm going to lay here in the video, you could pause and lie here a little longer. Otherwise, we're going to take 2 more breaths like this. Then take your arms straight up toward the ceiling. Let your armpits lengthen in the direction of your ears and stretch your arms back along the ground. So you're going to take the backs of your hands to the ground. I know you can't see because I'm not in the front, but the backs of my hands are to the ground. Take your low ribs and draw them in. Then reach with your hands so that you start to get a little bit of pressure in that area of the blanket roll. Release that, stretch your arms back up, roll to your side. Now you could use the same blanket roll if that felt pretty sturdy or thick to you, but you can also see if you can make something a little thicker. So you can take another blanket and roll it. You could, what I'm going to do is turn this blanket and roll it the short, thicker way. I like to double roll my blankets personally so you get a little bit more. And I'll turn this way so you can see my arms for this one. So you're going to lie kind of in the same place. You might go a little tiny bit lower on your back with the roll. So that's going to be a thicker roll that you lie over. You just don't want it to be in your low back, in your lumbar spine. Don't put the roll there, that just feels uncomfortable. Once you get here, well, first take your hands behind your head. Interlace them there. And squeeze your elbows into the ground. And as you squeeze your elbows into the ground, you'll feel this, hopefully you'll feel this space right above the blanket roll activate. Start to really get engaged there. And then take your elbows toward the ceiling. And reach them in the direction of the wall behind you. So we're gaining length here. Then take your hands, if you've got a mat, you can take your hands to the mat. You can also stretch them out straight like we did before. If you have a mat, grab your mat, take your elbows almost straight, and then low ribs down, pull on your mat. Breathe. So we get a little action here. Release. Roll to your side. The last thing you want to do if you're unable to sort of get up, move around, do your normal activities, is to let yourself get collapsed in. That's one of the things that happens to us a lot, and I know from experience, if you're just laying around, not able to really do anything, so often backs really hurt, legs hurt, neck hurts, things just get uncomfortable. So doing some of that blanket roll work can really help open that up and give you a little more energy. So the next thing that we'll do is grab your strap. And with your strap, you're going to lie down. Now, I'm using both feet to do this. If you've had a surgery and you're non-weight bearing, you can scooch around with one leg. Nothing wrong with that. And lie down. So you'll have some sort of little loop if you can. You can always just do some, as we're doing some leg stretching, so you can always just hold onto your leg and do some leg stretching. But I'm going to show you another way to really give yourself a little more fire and length in these poses. So you'll take your strap around your foot. If you can take it around your foot, do that. If for some reason you can't take it around your foot, you might get a bigger strap and put it around your ankle like this. We're taking our arms overhead. So either thing works. Yeah? You're going to reach your leg in the direction of the strap. Reach your other leg out straight. I've got my right leg in this strap. I'm going to stretch, pull this as close to my face as I can go and stretch my arms overhead. Take my low ribs down and in so I get a little core integration here. And then pull. Breathe here. You can even do a little wave of your foot side to side. Push your opposite thigh, my left thigh, pushing down into the ground. Make it really strong. Start to engage your thighs. Then I'm going to let this go. Cross my right ankle over my left thigh and drop it out. So now I'm actually going to squeeze a little bit in my right butt cheek to open up the front of my hip. If you need to move your ankle down a little lower, you can do that. If you've had some sort of knee injury, this is not the best thing for you to do. You can do some more straight leg stretching in this part. Then draw the whole thing in. You could stop right here. This might be good enough. Or you could come in and hold behind your left thigh and pull in. I'm going to gently push my right ankle into my left thigh and then draw the whole thing closer. Breathe here. Take 2 full breaths. Release. Now stretch your right leg out straight. Nice and controlled there. And place your left foot or leg into your strap. Push your right thigh bone down, so use the top of your right thigh. Really engage up there. Engage the top of your left thigh to push that leg straight. Even if as far back as your leg goes is right here, this is great. Stretch your arms back overhead. Press both legs away from you. Pull your low ribs in and pull on your arms. And so again, if you don't have a strap and you just want to do this holding behind your leg, that's fine. This one's just a little more lengthy and it gets your upper body involved too. So it'll also help for some of the things we're going to do later. Take one more breath, maybe two. Release. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh or shin if you need a little bit less. And drop your knee open. So don't let your pelvis tilt. You want your pelvis to stay level. And then squeeze your left butt cheek to open up the front of that hip. Now bend your right knee. You can stay here, or you can bring it in, hold behind your thigh or in front of your shin, and draw in closer. Notice if your shoulders are tensing, relax them. So use the clasping of your hands to pull in. You can also take a strap if this is a little hard to reach behind your thigh, but honestly, if it's too stressful to hold this in, then you might just keep your foot down on the ground. That's fine. Hold 2 more breaths. Release. Uncross those legs, roll to your side and sit up. So now we're going to go onto, I want to say like your upper butt is where we're going here. So not on your sit bones, but higher toward the back of your pelvis. So I'm taking my arms behind me pretty far. They can go out to the side a little bit more if you have space there. You can lift your chest a little bit, but mostly you actually want to get a little roll going right across that upper butt region. So if you're on more of a hard floor, you're going to be able to feel even almost like a little massage there. Engage your abdominals as you rock side to side. So this is a good hip and spine rotator, as well as you're just getting a little bit of mobilization to the tissues around your glutes that can sometimes get uncomfortable. Good. Once you've done a little bit of that, come back to center. And now we'll move on to onto your side. So lie on your right side, and you want to lie where, go the other way. If you're lying on your right side, you want your legs to be straight. And you first stretch your right arm out along the ground. And bend your elbows, see if you can hold the side of your head. If this is uncomfortable on your neck, you might just hold right around your neck, or you can flatten back out, and this is fine too. But at first here, we're going to go right here. Straight legs, lining your legs up with your hips with your shoulders, and take your top hand to your hip. So at first, we're going to find a little balance here. Once you found your balance here, there might be a little wobbling forward and back. So you want to find some balance. My feet aren't on the wall. I've got this wall near me. My feet aren't on it. Squeeze your thighs. Lift your top leg. And maintain your balance. Notice if your hips really shift and wobble, and then give yourself the time to steady out. Lower your top leg down. If you've got good steadiness with one leg lifting, you might lift the other leg. Now, if your hip bothers you when you do this, just put a blanket under there. I call this one the flopping fish because, as you can see from what I'm doing here, there's this wobble that happens, and we want to do is try and stabilize that. Once you've gotten a little stability there, you can lower the bottom leg than the top leg. It will be a little more stable if you come all the way down. At least I think it is, because you can sort of cheat and use your hand. So you could do that. We wouldn't even call it cheating. It's just using your hand. I just want to do a little bit of this. Breathe as you go. Notice if you're holding your breath. And if you are, make an extra effort to breathe. And come back to start. This next time, as you lift up, stretch your bottom leg out. So I'm actually keeping it a little bit lifted on the bottom. And I'm going to take my top leg over and find some balance here. From here, you're going to roll to your belly, and you want to try to make that roll as slow as you can, and keep your legs lifted as long as your back's okay there. Keep your arms lifted if you can. If you need to put your hands down a little bit, that's okay at first. If you can keep your arms lifted, do that. I'm going to try, without using hands or feet, to roll back to your side and catch yourself in that balance. Breathe. Slowly roll back to your stomach. You need to use a little bit of help. Do a little hand help, but try and do it mostly from just engaging the muscles on the back side of your body. And roll. To your side. It's totally fine to laugh at yourself with this one. It can be goofy. And then go back. Do a couple more like this. Go onto your stomach. And then onto your back. One more like this. And onto your side. This time when you go onto your stomach, stay there. Bring your forehead down. So if you can keep your legs straight and lifting, do that. Put your forehead down. Bring your hands behind you and interlace them, or hold a strap. And then maybe push your elbows straight, if that feels okay. Lift your head and chest up. You want the muscles of your back to be working, but stretch your legs out and reach to the crown of your head. Breathe. And slowly lower down. Relax everything down. Then roll to your second side. So now you'll roll to your left side. You don't have to flip around. I'm just doing that so I can look at the camera. Stretch your bottom arm out, and then bring your hand underneath your head. Make your legs, your feet, your hips, your shoulders all line up. You need to put something under your hip to make it happier. Do that. Find your balance here first. You might spend this entire time that we're on our side just finding your balance. Notice if your low ribs are starting to pop out and draw them in. That's kind of an unintegrated way of balancing. And then once you get fairly balanced, lift your top leg. Find your balance there. And you might find that one side is more challenging than the other. Lower that down. And lift again. If you find good balance on this, you can lift your bottom leg up. For the flopping fish. One day, maybe not the flopping fish, just regular old leg lifts. Lower one leg, lower the other. Go again. If you find balance faster than me, you might do some more reps. If you're really wobbling, you might spend the time just working on steadiness for one repetition, and that's fine. No points for number of repetitions on this one. Make sure you're still breathing. Notice if you're holding your breath. This is a big breath holding exercise. We have to sort of work against that natural tendency. This time, once you've got your legs lifted, stretch your bottom arm out, but you're not necessarily going to put it down. You're going to take your top arm up to meet it. Or just stretch out. Slowly roll to your belly. See if you can control that. Lift everything, and then roll back to your side. To your belly. Again here, breathe. To your side. Go to your belly. And to your side. Go to your belly. And go to your side. Again to the belly. And to your side. This time as you go to your belly, stay there and place your fingertips out to the side. So this time you're going to let your legs lower down. The tops of your feet lower down, or, if you're in a condition where the tops of your feet aren't going down, just whatever can lower is fine. You want your hands to come out to the side, and so you can keep your fingertips down at first. Lift the back of your head. Push your pubic bone down, meaning your tailbone's going to reach toward your heels a little bit, and curl up. Just want to let your chest pull forward and your shoulder blades squeeze backwards, not down, but back, then down. That's going to give you a little more opening through that upper back space we worked earlier. This is funky cobra. Breathe here. If your hands have to go flatter, that's fine. With your next exhale, lower down. And as you inhale, press back up. Back of your head, shoulders back. And lower. One more time, lift. At first, squeeze your shoulders back. Then a little bit down, not as far down as you can. You don't want to jam your shoulders down your back. Then lower. Great. From here, roll yourself to your side and come up. We're going to swing around. So for this next one, it's really helpful if you have a wall. I'm going to demonstrate this on a wall. So if you're not near one, you might move near one. And we're going to get up close to the wall, such that you could have maybe like a 90-degree angle at your knee. You might find that you need a different distance, which is okay, but that's going to be the starting position, just the starting distance that you're going for. Then straighten your legs out. So you want to have some light pressure of your heels on the wall. Your low ribs are going to be in. This doesn't mean that you're tucking your tailbone under and trying to lift your butt up off the ground. You actually kind of want to, maybe just a little bit, you're not trying to curve your back either. So just a natural low back position. Draw your low ribs in. And take your arms, for this one, overhead. Notice if you want to lift your ribs when your arms come overhead, and avoid that temptation. Relax your arms. You don't want them to do the work. Firm your top thighs and squeeze your legs toward one another. From here, draw your feet off the wall. As long as you can do it without putting more pressure in your low back. If you need to be closer to the wall to make that happen, you can. If you need to be a little further away from the wall, you can also do that. If you need to go bent knees, like this, that's okay too. Otherwise, here we go. Pull them off and then control it back down, tap your heels. So farther away from the wall, you'll have further to go and a little more challenge. So this is nice and slow moving. No movement of your spine, just of your legs. Breathe. We're going to do 3 more like this. Then bring your hands down beside you. You want to grab the edges of your mat. If you don't have a mat, that's okay. Pretend to grab the edges of your mat. You're going to dig your hands into the ground, like you're kind of punching the ground. If you can grab the mat. Bend your knees into your chest. So you're bending your knees here, and what you want to do is use the mat pull, or the pushing of your hands into the ground, to help you just a little bit to draw your shins closer to parallel with the floor. So you're just lifting your butt up a little bit, not like this. Okay, we're not doing plow pose. We're doing knees in, tailbone lift. Lower back down. Knees in, tailbone lift. Maybe straighten your legs, but notice they're not going here. They're going here. Bend your knees, hold. Lower back down slowly. Sometimes it's hard to lower back down slowly. We're just going to do, let's say 5 of these. So with 5 of them, you want to move slowly. As you pull and lift your tailbone, you want to pause. Breathe. Stretch back. Bend your knees, hold. Lower down slow. 4 more. Hold when you go to the knee bend and lower down. Draw your knees in, pull on the mat or push the ground. Straighten your legs. Bend your knees. Lower down. 2 more if you're at the same pace as me. One more. It's totally fine if your butt's barely getting off the ground. No problem. As long as you're feeling some work in your abs, that's great. Good. Next, this is where you'll use your block or your thing to squeeze, and it goes between your knees. So really, you could squeeze your knees together. It's not quite as effective as having something to squeeze, but you could do that, and your arms will stretch side to side. So you want your legs at 90-90, meaning if you have pretty close to 90-90 on the wall, you could shimmy back a little bit, but you don't want your knees to come closer for this one. Notice if your feet are coming together and your knees are apart, you want your feet and your knees lined up with one another. Your arms go side to side. Low ribs in, and take your knees halfway down to the right. Up to halfway down. Notice if your arms start to get really tense and you've gone too far. So you want to have relaxed arms as you take your legs over. Inhale, and as you exhale, turn your guts to the left so that your guts are moving the opposite direction of your legs. Squeeze your block. And come back to center. Go to the other side. Squeeze your block, turn your guts to the right. Breathe. Come back to center. Legs to the right. Squeeze your block, guts to the left. Come back to center. Squeeze your block halfway down to the left. Turn your guts to the right. Back to center. Release. Or do a couple more if you would like. Roll to your side. Press yourself up. Okay, your next position is going to be on your stomach. You're going to come all the way down on your belly with your forearms underneath you in Sphinx pose. Now, if the Sphinx pose is hard on your back, your arms can walk forward so you can go a little bit lower. This will be especially important as we start bending our knees. So we want to stretch the fronts of our legs a little bit here, especially since we just did all of that abdominal work. So now if you'll bend your right knee, cross your left forearm in front of you, and reach back. So you could grab the top of your foot, or you can grab the inside, like flip your arms where your thumb's up, and you can grab the inside edge of your ankle, or just kind of put your hand against your foot if you can reach. Sometimes some of us might have to actually grab on to keep our arm here. Open up your right shoulder and reach your leg back gently. Let your chest lift up. To whatever degree it can, you want to get a stretch through your right shoulder and chest. And then here, if you can bring your hand to the top of your foot, you can take your elbow up toward the ceiling and pull in this way. You might take it to the outside of your foot and pull in this way. Try to keep your shoulder lifting and turn straight ahead. Release. Do your second side. Bend your left knee, reach around, grab the inside of your foot or ankle. Then roll your left shoulder back and open and turn. Kick your foot, push your foot gently into your hand. That'll help you. Then bend your knee, going over the top of your foot, or hold the front of your shin and turn forward. If grabbing your foot is really hard, sometimes you can roll to the side, catch it, and roll back to your belly. That's a sneaky way to do it. You can also use a strap if that's necessary. Helpful. Release. Great. Now for our next thing, we have a couple of options here. If you can grab your feet, you can do this. If grabbing your feet, so even if you have to, or you can grab your ankles too. Even if you have to kind of get funky to grab them, as long as you can catch your feet somehow, you can do some component of this next piece, which is bow pose or dhanurasana. If you cannot grab your feet both at the same time, if it hurts your back or anything like that, go back and do what we just did. Work chest stretch, work the pull in. Otherwise, grab your feet, take your chin down. Reach your tailbone towards your heels, your low ribs in, and lift your shoulders. That might be enough. You can stay there. Or lift your chest and kick your feet back and up. That's part 2. Or add more chest lift and more kick. And roll a little bit towards your pubic bone. That's part 3, dhanurasana. Take a big breath in, then come down. You've got one more of something. So if you're doing a second side of your thigh stretch, do that. Otherwise, let's do one more dhanurasana. Shoulders lift. You might stay here. Take your tailbone towards your heels. You could also kick and lift your legs. Kick more and lift your chest. Breathe. If you can't breathe, go back to the last place you could. And release. Now let your legs go. This is where you do a thing I like to call jello butt, where you wiggle your butt side to side loosely. Relax your forehead down. Take one more full breath here, in and out. Then sit up. Now we're going to go back to the wall. This next piece is so nice if you could do it on the wall. This time, instead of being at feet on the wall at 90-90, you actually want to get right up against the wall. And then swing your legs up. If your hamstrings are a little tighter, you might not be able to get right up next to the wall. So do your best. If you are like this up against the wall, you're too close and you need to scooch back some. So make sure your back can be down. Your arms can go here. From here you can hang out like this. The next thing we'll do is bend one knee and cross, say your left ankle over your right thigh. You might be good just like this. Depending on how much you can bend, you might just have to do a little cross and hang out or hug your leg in. If you can open your leg, you can bend your right knee and let the wall help draw your leg in closer so that you get a stretch in your outer left hip. The other thing this will do is if you've had any sort of ankle surgery, injuries, things like that going on, is it's going to change the angle of your ankle and work your range of motion just a little bit. If you're wearing a boot while you do this, it won't do that, and that's fine. After a few breaths, release that and switch sides. Cross your right ankle over your left. You can stay there, you can hug in, or you can open it out, stay there, or you could bend your left knee and draw your leg closer. You can also do some little side-to-side rocks here. Sometimes that feels really nice. But whatever you do, you want to feel pretty nice here in this position. If arms out side to side doesn't feel comfortable to you, do whatever you want with your arms. Release. And now take your feet and knees turned out.
So your knees are actually opening out. Your toes are going to point out just by the nature of your legs opening. This is like a little wall frog. And you could use your arms to rest on your inner thighs, and that'll weigh them down. So this is an inner thigh stretch. You can stay right here. You can also straighten your legs and do an inner thigh stretch like this. Take one more breath. Use your hands to help bring your legs back in. Draw your knees in toward your chest. From here, you can stretch your arms side to side. Take your knees over to one side. And twist. So you could also turn your head. Classically, you'll turn your head the opposite direction of your legs, but if that's uncomfortable on your neck, turn in the same direction. Take one more breath here. Bring your legs back up and switch sides. Again, if you need to adjust your upper back so it's flatter, you can do that. You want to be able to relax here so you're not trying to push yourself into your deepest twist. End of your next exhale, bring your legs back up. And you might rest for a little bit with your legs up the wall. If you need to put a little cushioning under your heels, you can do that. If it would feel more comfortable to put your feet together and your knees apart, you can do that. Obviously not if you have an ankle injury going on, that won't be comfortable. You could strap your legs, but you can also just lay here. And if you prefer to come off the wall and stretch your legs out straight along the ground for Shavasana, your final resting pose there, you could do that too. Legs up the wall will help if you've got any swelling or anything like that going on in your legs. Stay at rest here for as long as you like. When When you're ready to come out, slowly bend your knees. Make your way to one side. And take a couple of breaths on your side. And then press yourself back up.
Thank you so much for joining me